Howdy do, boys and ghoul. This is your work friend, Vincent Griffin, with a really very scary story, just in time for Halloween. And this tale I'm about to tell you, as scary as it may be, is all true. I know it to be true because I was there. So go ahead and dim the lights, snuggle up with a good homie, and have mommy and daddy on standby, just in case you get too scared. I know I certainly will. This story all took place on a night much like this. This exact night, to be precise. This all happened just a few hours ago. And much like a big baby, one could find me chilling at the crib. We had the squad come over, and before long we had ourselves a little Halloween hangout sesh. The whole gang were all dressed up as all kinds of spooky characters. I think I even maybe saw a skeleton. Ooh, now that was really scary. Things were getting a little bit too intense, and we needed something to simmer down a bit. We were rapidly approaching what we might call a real smoke 'em if you got 'em situation. And luckily, we had 'em. You see, earlier today, I had asked the plug, Drug Doug, to pull through and to bring me my usual. A couple of Dankin' Fats special spliffs. A local delicacy. But the boys and I always just called them sausages because of how they looked. They were rolled so short and fat that they really did resemble little sausages. It had a mix of a special strand called Blue Room, and it was not for the faint of heart. Because once you light up with Blue Room, and the room begins to fill up with smoke, it would send most people way over the high threshold. Air quotes. There was a puff, and then came another. And then it was passed to me. I quickly took 39 righteous drags off in rapid succession. And I don't know what happened, but it was as if my throat was suddenly on fire. I began to choke and wheeze. It was far too dank. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I was all stuffed up. I screamed and cried and ran around the room and fell about the place. It hurt a little, but I'm built for this kind of thing. After a few sips of my goose juice, I managed to collect myself, and we all had a good laugh. As the night went on, the crew began to slowly dip and shuffle out. Pretty soon, the only two that still remained were me and my good friend Cowley. Cowley was the couch that I had had at the time that this all happened. And at this point, we had both packed away a fair number of sausages, and both were suffering from the same thing. A ravenous case of the munchies. I got this terrible pain, this pain in my stomach, and I knew I had to act. But not wanting to exert myself in any way, I did what anyone in our predicament would do. I took out my phone and ordered DoorDash. I hit up our favorite chicken joint and ordered us the basket number 13. Inside of the basket number 13 were a bunch of big, burly chicken strips. It also had all parts of a chicken just thrown about, and a little bag of fries on the side. Ah, yes. Ain't that fresh? It was just the thing we needed to bring us back from the edge. My phone chirped, and I was given a message that some chump named Oscar was on his way. So Callie and I began to while out, stoked about the delicious grub that was heading our way. Or so we thought. Time passed. But how much I didn't know. A day? A month? A year? Who was to say? Cowley began to grow anxious. When will they come? Asked Cowley, flapping his couch cushions to mimic a big-ass mouth. I don't know. I don't know when they'll come. Do you think they'll come today? He asked again. I mean, yeah, probably. It's only been like 15 minutes. And all through the night, Cowley would just get moody and whiny and complain about how hungry he was. Like homie joined the club. When would they come? I'm hungry, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, nobody knows and nobody cares. He began all this heavy breathing and panting as if sitting there and smoking all of my blunts was taking a great toll out of him. What a maroon. 45 minutes go by and still nothing. Cowley was acting up again, but I tried to quell his moody nature. I say, let's wait 15 more minutes. If they don't come in 15 more minutes, then we'll do something. 15 minutes come and go, and still no word on our order. Now Cowley was really growing a little more than worried as it was approaching midnight and everything else was shut down. If this were to fall through, Cowley and I would surely not survive the night. When will they be here? He asked again. I don't know, I don't know, and I don't know when I'll know. The only thing that I knew for sure was that I didn't. The light at the end of my joint began to flicker and grow dim, and just then it went out. I really tried to put on a brave face for the two of us, but I couldn't help feel a little nervous. So I nibbled on another sausage because I was nervous and all. If they haven't come yet, they aren't going to come at all, he said. They'll come, they'll come. I'm sure they'll be here soon. But my words could do little to nothing to help comfort my big fabric-y friend. And just then, I got an alert on my phone that our driver Oscar was here. My heart skipped a little beat, and it was followed up by a message from Oscar. Popped right on up. Vincent, I'm walking towards your front steps. I am on the first step. I am moving towards the second step. Now I am on the third step. Boss, you are never gonna believe where I am now. And sure enough, I could hear footsteps coming from outside. Kelly and I got a little giddy and jumped up and down and clapped our little hands. I quickly ran down the corridor to look out the little peephole to see what I could see. And sure enough, the footsteps I heard came running alongside me. I couldn't see anything out of my little peephole, so I squeaked open my front door to poke my stupid little head out. I looked and I looked, but to my horror, there was nothing there. No Oscar, no little bag of fries, no nothing. I now was a little scared and my eyes were a little more than wet. And with the heaviest of hearts, I returned to Cowley to deliver the grave news. He instantly became... I didn't have this part of the script written. He instantly threw a tantrum and he fell down and threw himself about the place. Well, he tried to pick himself up, but again, he was a couch, so I had to tip him back up myself, which was exhausting for me. I know what happens to people in our situation, he muttered. I'm not sure what you mean, Cowley. You don't understand what I mean. That's cute. Of course you do. People blazed out of their gourds like us, with no food, begin to get paranoid. And what is it do you think that they fear more than anything? I don't even think I even know what you're saying right now, honestly. Yes, you do. Yes, you know what I mean. People caught in our situation begin to fear that the driver stole their order. What? What? No, you're crazy, Cowley, please. Don't say that again. That again. No! And in a fit of rage, I leapt at him like a feral animal, and we began to wrestle. I could put up with anything. Anything at all except for his constant bitching and moaning. As the sounds of violence filled the night air, so too did the roaring of our empty bellies. It was as if I could hear Oscar, our driver, laughing at us, taunting us with his stolen banquet. As I elbow dropped Cowley from the heavens, the laughing continued, and I thought, wait a minute. If I can hear the driver laughing, then that must mean that he's here. I looked up, and sure enough, I saw a little round man rising slowly from where he was hiding behind Cowley, standing there with a dumb look on his face. A big dumb smile, if you will. If you're here, where the fuck is my order? I asked. And as his smile faded into a lifeless stare, I knew that had been strikes 1, 2, and 3 right there. He then proceeded to stab me, as these types of stories tend to go. He rushed me and slammed me against my fridge, the impact sending the copious amounts of food I had spilling all over the floor. I let out a manly cry of pain and then shouted, "This will surely affect your tip." But all I felt was the effect of the tip of his blade. And though I had said it, I had known damn well that my words carried no weight. You see, little Vincent, that's me, never really was a good person, let alone had little to no money to my name. The truth is, I was going to shortchange him irregardless, stabbing or not. I got out of my head and I realized I needed to fight back to try to get him off of me. I needed to do something. And then I did that. And then I reached around for a weapon or anything to help, but my hand slipped and went inside of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich I had made hours before. I put the room temperature jelly in my mouth and I ate it. Not sure what else to do during this wacky inconvenience. You see, I was too malnourished and lazy to overpower him. I couldn't go forward because that's where the knife was. And I couldn't go back because the fridge seemed to be Oscar's accomplice. It had me pinned down. No. This stabbing was going to happen and keep happening. And it was as his David Bowie knife continued to make its acquaintance with my soft, shitty body that a silver lining did reveal itself to me. I thought this driver's attitude was debatably unbecoming. He was what some people today might call a rude dude. And I realized that if I made a big stink about all of this, I could use it to my advantage to maybe get a credit or something. A young man had been struggling as of late, as I had just given Drug Doug my last hay penny earlier today. A credit or a refund would go a long way for a homie. My computer went off. Oscar pulled out the knife and the stabbing stopped, but only for a moment. As Oscar switched the knife to his offhand and picked up where he had left off. With a shot of adrenaline, my fingers danced across the screen, trying to fill out the complaint form as quick as I could. And with the last bit of my strength, I hit submit. I knew that now it was simply a matter of time, and if I could grit my teeth and get through this stabbing, it would all be worth it. So as Oscar continued turning me into a pincushion, I smoked another sausage and prepared myself for a pinochle ride through revelations. He stabbed me in the stomach. He stabbed me in the snout. He stabbed me in the arm. And then he stabbed me all about. I tried to take my mind off things by looking around the room. I couldn't see Cowley through all of this, but I could hear his gross, heavy breathing. I couldn't tell if he was sleeping or not. Only that he was a big bitch for leaving me hanging like this. And through it all, I stood firm and kept my wits about me. I think I was able to endure for as long as I did because I was so smashed. But don't tell Oscar. The only thing I could hear besides my big brave boy screams was the Offspring's hit song, Pretty Fly for a White Guy, that had been playing on a loop from Oscar's phone this whole time. Now, I'm not sure if you folks at home have ever been stabbed to a soundtrack, but I can assure you, it does not add to the experience. Several amounts of seconds passed, and I felt myself slipping unconscious. I caught myself a few times and did my darndest to try to keep my peepers aflutter. I had to stay awake. I couldn't fall asleep in these dire situations because I felt that if I fell asleep, that Cowley would eat all of the food when it finally came. I tried to keep my eyelids open, but try as I might, a fellow was getting pretty tuckered out. And then I guess eventually I really did drift away. Suddenly, I was awoken by a blinding light. I raised my hands to shield my eyes and to rub the sleepies away. And as I raised my hands, I noticed I could no longer feel the sting of Oscar's blade. I noticed he wasn't there no longer. Maybe this divine light had scared him off, or maybe he had scampered off on all fours, feeling satisfied with his warfare accomplished. The light dimmed, and I looked out the window to see that they were the high beams of a red pickup truck. And out of the truck came a man with a red bag. This was it. My patience had finally paid off. Surely, this was my replacement food or my refund or my something. Maybe just the bag to the little bit of fries. Anything at all would turn this night around. I limped out the door to meet the man, and then I saw who it was. It was none other than the Jesus Christ. He had come to deliver. He was here to deliver me. The ever-beating ache of heartbreak is second only to the pain of the pain in my stomach. With a little nod of his head and a polite "what it do," he respectfully picked me up and placed me in the bag. But I was way too big and only my legs fit in. My head and my arms were sticking out of at all kinds of odd angles, leaving me looking like some kind of Dorito snowman. Before I could say a word, he chucked me in the back seat with another bag, and off we went. I bounced to and fro in the back of the red pickup truck, hitting my wounds from all angles. It seems like he was going out of his way to hit any and all potholes on this rickety old back road we were on. Boy howdy, this is a lot of story. What's more was that as we drove, there appeared to be a little critter or goblin or something in the trunk, that would rise up here and there and try to take a few little bites out of me. 2 weeks from tonight's events, all I could do was slap his little paw away and he would sink back down. Burp. And this would happen intermittently throughout our journey. And it was pretty annoying, not gonna lie. But before I knew it, we had arrived at our destination. The car door flung open and I was hoisted skybound once more. He walked a bit before he gently sat me down in front of a massive, gold-plated gate. He took out his phone and took a little picture of me before hopping back into his truck and speeding off. So there I sat. Long did I wait, but I did not enter Heaven's Gate. So out I slopped and went to knock, but quickly saw it wasn't locked. So in I went, and I was greeted by a grand entrance chamber. And oh, what a grand entrance chamber it was. The room was dark, save for a small sliver of light that spilled out of a cracked door on the far side of the room, gleaming off the brilliant marble floors. The oval-shaped room had bookcases for walls filled in perfect symmetry. In the center was 6 masterfully sculpted columns that orbited a lush red carpet that led to the other side of the room. I took in the magnitude and realized that overall this room was mid. But it was from this door on the other side that I could hear the gentle gnashing of teeth. So I hopped and jumped and maybe even skipped towards the other side to see if maybe I could unravel the mystery of just what the hay was going on. I covertly kicked open the door, and I saw I was now in a bit of a banquet hall, filled with people I had never seen before, gathered all around a dining table. It would appear that they were having a little Halloween hangout sesh as well. About to get their grub on. Owie zowie. What I didn't seem to mention, as I'm still telling it, was that everyone here were giants, at least over 30 feet tall. Even the table, maybe. Compared to all of them, I was just a little guy. I was looking like a little church mouse. I got scared. I don't know why I was scared, but I was. Just kind of the thing to do. It was Halloween, and on top of I noticed something on the roof. It was a large chute. I don't know. But suddenly it opened, and all kinds of delicious-looking foods rolled out onto the table, like some catch of the day at those, those seafood restaurants that just kind of throw the food all over the place. I tried to drink it all in and make sense of this scene, but something caught my eye. Something then piqued my interest and made me ask a few questions. You see, on all the piles of food that slopped out, right in front of the homie sitting at the head of the table was a little DoorDash bag. I knew it. It was my order. I knew that to be true because I could see my name written sloppily in crayon on the ticket. I couldn't help but feel a little angry. All these people are well fed, except for me. Why do they need my food too? It was then I realized what probably happened. You see, when Oscar had arrived and acted a fool, Cowley and I had assumed he had stolen it or maybe forgotten it. But despite all that happened, he really had brought the food. And when Mr. Christ had arrived and Oscar fled the scene, he must have dropped my order. And when he scooped me up, he must have accidentally grabbed my order as well. Hence the second bag he had with him. And he delivered both bags by mistake. I was still a little peeved because how was it that my food got inside, but I didn't. I sat there for like forever. I was thrown from my thoughts as a sound rang out. It was the ring of a dinner bell, and everyone began to bow their heads for grace. That means I'm not too late, I thought, and started making my way up the table to sneak a tender or two. Yes. I saw that the homie at the head of the table was none other than St. Peter. And he was the one who led the grace, saying all kinds of beautiful stuff. I don't remember any of what he said now, because I had my eyes set on one and one thing only. And I know you'll never guess what that could be, so I'm not telling you. And then, as I finally scurried up the leg of the table, I took a swig of my beer real quick. Good thing I'm shirtless, because that just went everywhere. Well, as I said, as I hit the top of the table, the homie, the fella sitting in the chair closest to me, had noticed me. He looked down at me with a little smile and he said, "I'm sorry, man, we didn't notice you there. We actually just took our lunch. So if you don't mind waiting in the lobby, we'll be back shortly. Sorry for the inconvenience." And he closed his eyes once more to continue the grace. He was a nice and all man, but his words fell on deaf ears. For I had come so close, and was now standing at the precipice. I couldn't stop now. No, not now. I was in the end game. So I began making my way towards the end of the table. The food was massive. I don't know how tall I am, but these mounds of little mashed potatoes and turkey may as well have been Everest. I had to scale and parkour my way from green bean to green bean while trying to stay under the radar, because I didn't want to get in any trouble. I was scared of that more than anything. Well, almost anything. And I thought through all the food, how would I find my way back? This was quite a journey going through, but I had lucked out, finally. I had a fair bit of mud on my big work boots I was wearing, and had left a kind of snail trail behind, of mud and gravel, all kinds of things you might find in a swamp trailed behind me. I would surely be able to follow this path to get back. I knew I was running out of time. Everyone's eyes would not stay closed for long, as they too were probably pretty hungry, I'm guessing, from the amount of food. And I decided to go beast mode. I really started going turbo, or whatever. I'm gonna have to redo this part. But there I was, at the summit. I reached out my greasy hand in order to claim my prize. My fingers hovered over the bag and was ready to risk it all. And it was right as I touched the bag, I had heard the sound that sealed my fate. The room gave out what's the word I'm looking for? They all said amen. And it was right as I touched the bag, St. Peter, and everyone had opened their eyes. We stared blankly at each other for a moment. And then he noticed all the food had been sullied and tainted by my muddy little journey, my mud-filled odyssey. Filled with fear, I quickly grabbed the bag and made a dash for the door. All around, I could hear the people growing upset and saying things like, why would you do this? And, hey man, come back and we can talk about this. You really should own up to what you did. But I was too scared. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I still had a sausage in my mouth. I was still too choked up and I couldn't breathe. Probably need to work on this part of the script a little bit. But anyway, I slammed myself down on the floor and tried to still run from it because I knew that all these giants were fast walking, fresh on my heels, asking me to come back and to explain myself. I had gotten 3 steps before feeling terribly winded, and I dropped the bag and collapsed to the floor. The bag rolled out in front of me. Somehow a fair deal more. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. And that's when St. Peter rose from his chair and he said, "You're cold." That was a cold thing you did. You've got ice water for blood. You're cold. And then he reached out his hand and grabbed his phone. And that's when I knew what he was going to do. Since I was so cold, he reached out to cancel the order. I had to get my food before it was too late. I reached out and was all so close, yet so very far. My fingers were kissing distance from those fingers, those chicken fingers. But in a flash, I had vanished. I'd found myself suddenly plummeting down, back towards the earth. My body catching on fire upon hitting the atmosphere. Is this the fate of all canceled DoorDash orders, I had thought? But thinking was never my strong suit, and it took me a while to think just that. Because before I could even finish that thought, I had hit the floor. And the next thing I know, I was back in my shitty apartment, which really bugged me. I looked around and I stood up and dusted myself off. I saw that upon my re-entrance, the flames had cauterized my wounds, which was pretty all right, I guess. But then I looked around my apartment and saw the place was completely trashed, more so than usual. All of my possessions were either cut up to ribbons or stolen, including Cowley. Cowley the couch was all gone now, and I'm still hungry. And it was time for me to leave a review. So I opened my phone and went into the app and began to type. Overall, not that bad of an experience. Yes, sir. No stars. Well, there you have it. That leads us back to where we are right now. I had just enough time to record this and edit it before the police showed up. From all the hoopla that had taken place. You see, I'm getting nervous. This is the part that makes me nervous, because it's happening right now. You see, I was on house arrest. Or I still am on house arrest. I don't know what I'm saying. And I have this little ankle bracelet. And I could never be caught without my little ankle bracelet. I guess when I had passed over to the next world, my ankle bracelet went out of range, and the police were summoned. I tried to explain what had happened, and that if my couch were here to back up my story. But for some reason, they didn't believe me. They really couldn't believe the amount of smokable drugs and heavy ornaments that I had strewn about my apartment. You can hear I'm really out of breath, actually. While my intention tonight was to scare you, it is me who is actually the one who is scared. For I may be in a fair bit of trouble. So it's time for me to go now. I've dwelled here long enough. I hope that you got scared, but maybe not too scared. You know, actually it is Halloween, so fuck it. Get too scared. See if I care. And I have a prior engagement with the police. But as I end this, I see a little window. I'm gonna just make a run for it. So ta-ta for now, boys and ghoul. Who knows, maybe I'll see you again. But probably not.